Your live interactive Weather Authority coverage will begin shortly. Your live interactive Weather Authority coverage will begin shortly. Your live Weather Authority coverage starts right now.
Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. We are finishing up round one of our storm system here. Round one was the rain and wind we had this morning through midday. There's been a little bit of a lull. The wind hasn't been quite as strong. Going forward, I think we'll have another max peak wind gust, probably over 50 miles per hour for many towns, just as the cold front moves through. First ahead of the cold front and just behind the front. I wouldn't be shocked to see some gusts over 50 miles per hour around 7, even 8 o'clock tonight as the atmosphere tries to mix out with some stronger winds aloft again. So far, we've had a peak wind gust in Portland of 64 miles per hour. That's the 9th strongest wind ever recorded at the Portland Jetport. We just had the 4th highest tide ever recorded at the Jetport. Those tides go back to 1912. And we also have those records for wind going back to early 1940s, 1941 at the Jetport here. So I want to start off by first saying hello and thank you for joining us on Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you are this afternoon. I want to show you some video, some of the video from our storm system. Today, this takes us back to, I'm pretty sure that's Camp Ellis. There was some flooding, of course, there. The big story today was that high tide. It was massive. It went to 13.72 feet. Flood stage in Portland is 12 feet. And we saw a lot of flooding. We saw a lot of damage at Portland Headlight. Some of the windows at Portland Headlight were blown out. We saw that from Benjamin Williamson, one of the talented photographers here in Maine. This is some video, I think, down in Wells. A woman was rescued from a house down in Wells there as well. There was some flooding occurring that water went into the first level of the home. So it was pretty wild. This down in Wells, I believe, as well. Commercial Street over by Jay's Oyster Bar. That's fairly typical during a flooding event. You usually see a little bit of water there, but there was a lot of water. Again, flood stage in Portland is 12 feet, and we were up to 13.72 feet of water here. All right, let's take a look at the stats. This is pretty amazing when you think about it here. Let's look at some of the historic tides here. This going back to 1912, I believe. And we had a tide that went to 13.72 feet at 10:16 this morning. We talked yesterday about the potential for moderate to major coastal flooding. Well, we got the major. And there are some notable storms on this list. I mean, this is pretty crazy, right? I mean, we have the perfect storm. There it is, October 30th, 1991. I remember when trick-or-treating after that storm. We have the Patriots Day storm, the 07 storm. I'm pretty sure this November, one of these November 1945 storms brought the most 24-hour snow most 24-hour snow, I believe, as a U.S. record was recorded in Randolph, New Hampshire. It was 54 inches of snow. I think it was in 1945. 54 inches. Randolph, New Hampshire. They get a lot of snow there, but I'm pretty sure it's one of those storms, either November 20th or 30th storm. It's interesting. There's 2 dates right there because you have the blizzard of 78, which is number 2, and another storm just after the blizzard of 78. So those 2 and 78 were 2 big storms. We have that big bomb cyclone. Remember the blizzard and the 4th of January, 2018, that is number 3rd. And the way these work is you have full moon cycles, the astronomical high tides, and basically a storm that lines up with that. And that's what we had out there today. We had some strong winds, a tidal surge, the seas, or the tides were already 11.3 feet. So we went to 13.72 feet. That is again, the 4th highest on record in Portland going back to 1912. So already we have a historic storm just on the tides. Now let's talk about the wind here. Right now the winds are gusting, we can handle this, 49, 50 miles per hour. That's still a respectable wind. And usually when you get winds like that, you get scattered outages. At last check, I meant to check this before I started the Facebook Live. I'm pretty sure we're up to about 100,000 customers without power. That's about 1/3 of where we were for the ice storm in 1998, which was 25 years ago in 2 weeks. Can you believe it was 25 years ago since the ice storm? It's crazy, right? Winds are gusting around over 40 miles per hour for a lot of towns right now. We did have a max gust so far at 11:45 this morning of 64 miles per hour. Where does that fall on the records list here? Well, I put together the top 10s record list, and there's some notable storms on here. I had to knock out Hurricane Bob, August 19th, 1991. Hate to do it, but had to do it here because we now have the ninth strongest wind ever recorded at Jetport going back to 1941. Number one leading the list is the Great Lagerquist birthday storm of 2010, 78 miles per hour. That was a rainstorm as well. I hit a tree on my way home that night. There was a tree crossing the road. I remember the wind happened at night. It was a rainstorm. And I just went through the front end of the tree and like clunk, 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 clunk as I was driving through it, damaged the car a little bit, but it was okay. There's that November 20th storm, 1945 again, 47. I don't remember that one. Donna, Hurricane Donna, 1960. She shows up in the lift, 76 miles per hour. November 12th, 1995. Another big storm, 72. Hurricane Gloria. Remember that one, 85. I remember Hurricane Gloria. I got some days off from school from that one. If you remember Hurricane Carol, that was one heck of a storm because what happened after Carol, there was another storm 2 weeks later. And there was another storm after that. It was Etna and then Hazel. So there were two big hurricanes in New England in a span of a few weeks. Imagine if that happened again. The Great Halloween Blackout. We just missed that one, 69 miles per hour. That was in 2017. We've been talking all week on how this storm is kind of similar to that Halloween blackout storm. The setup is similar. The low-level jet was similar. The marine inversion, we call it, was similar. Although the thing that was a little different was the time of year. We had a lot more greater chance for mixing down some of the winds aloft just due to the fact that we have warmer temperatures in October than we do in December. Ground temperatures, water temperatures, that plays a role in this sort of setup here. And we had another big storm, October 17th, 2019, 62 miles per hour. So the bottom line here, I just want to show you, we have a historic storm for not only tides, but wind now. 64 miles per hour falls as the ninth strongest wind ever recorded at the Portland Jetport. Many areas are getting peak wind gusts, 55 to 65 miles per hour. Here's some peak gusts, Shapley 66. A lot of these are a few hours old, so I wouldn't be shocked if New Harbor is a little bit higher. 62. Cape Elizabeth reporting 56, mid-50s there in Sanford, one of the ASOS stations. That's right at the airport there. Cape Nettic down in York, 54, and Ogunquit at last check, 54 miles per hour. I just went through all the METAR reports and converted knots to miles per hour, and this is what we have for peak wind gusts at airports and a few other locations like Mount Washington, where they're out there every hour on the hour, de-icing the instruments in 150 mile per hour winds. Folks up at the Mount Washington Observatory are hardy folks. Look at that, 150. I worked up there for almost 3 years, and my whole time I was up there, our peak wind gust was 142 miles per hour. Let me tell you, that's a respectable wind going outside in that. I was on the tower when the winds gusted to 135. My goggles blew off. Can't imagine 150. I bet they're having fun up there at the observatory today. Okay, Portland, peak gust 64, Sanford. These are just airports. So, these aren't the Mesonet sites all around them or anything like that. But at last check was Wiscasset, 51, Rockland. I thought Rockland would be a little bit higher. Same in Augusta. Maybe we will a little bit later. Now, I do think we will get some more gusts over 50 miles per hour just as the cold front comes through later this afternoon and more so into the early evening hours. We may briefly get up over 50 miles per hour, 7, even 8 o'clock tonight. Wouldn't be shocked to see that as well. Live look at Old Orchard Beach. There we are. We're seeing, the seas are angry. Tonight, those seas will be building to about 20 feet. They're forecast to be about 11 to 16 feet during the course of the day today. I was talking to a friend of mine, Benjamin Williamson, one of the great photographers in Maine, and he was saying he was out there at Portland Headlight. He noticed just during the hour after high tide that the waves were actually getting bigger. And if we actually had the high tide an hour or two later, it would have been pretty wild. I saw some amazing video of waves crashing on Portland Headlight. And the windows were knocked out of the building there connected to the lighthouse. And a little granite stone next to the bell tower there, or the bell, that was knocked over due to the wave action as well. So some serious damage occurred today at Portland Headlight. Let's go back to the time lapse from Old Orchard Beach. There we are with, I think that's around high tide. You're seeing some some wave action there, of course, and you're seeing some flooding occurring there as well. So we're not just talking about the tide flooding, we're also talking about river flooding today. The Saco River at Conway now has a flood warning in effect until tomorrow afternoon. Minor flooding is forecast there. And also we have the Swift River up at Roxbury, where we're seeing some minor flooding occurring there as well. These are some of the more reactive rivers. They're more of the shallower rivers. We'll be watching some of the deeper rivers, the wider rivers for tomorrow, probably like the Androscoggin, the Kennebec River. Those need to be monitored as well. But usually this is what happens. The more reactive rivers will jump up there a little bit sooner. So those are the rivers we're watching. We've been in a little bit of a lull, and we're starting to see some more heavier rainfall starting to show up now. This is as the cold front approaches. Let's see if we can widen this out just a little bit. But we'll get there. Hang tight for 1 second. There we go. We'll scan down. See all that rainfall? Oh, that's a pretty solid line now. That's coming up in Manchester, New Hampshire, and it's moving up into parts of eastern parts of Massachusetts. Maybe we can stop this. Yeah, stop this. There we go. So it's 53 degrees. It's warm out there. I guess that's good news. If you're losing power, at least. If you're a skier or snowboarder, you're cringing watching this. Although a lot of the mountains picked up 2 to 5 inches of snow. Excuse me. There were some areas we saw. I got a report from Madison, New Hampshire, 5 inches of snow there. Saw close to half foot up at the up in the Rangeley area. So yeah, they got some snow before the changeover. All right, this is the line we're watching. That's a pretty solid line. So that's the next line that will be coming through over the next couple hours, and that may have some decent gusts in it as well. There are some, there's 2 lines here, actually. There's one right here, and there's one right in here. As the front swings through, we're going to see a rapid change in temperature. So now as phase 1 of our storm system is moving out, the rain and probably the extreme wind, the heavy rain and the extreme wind, that's starting to shift off to the north. Phase 2 of the storm is probably going to be the front coming through with another round of wind, another round of rain, and then the cold. Cold is going to be the big story tonight. We're going to see temperatures fall pretty quickly. If you work for a road crew and, maybe you salt and sand and plow, I think getting the sand down or the salt down probably by 5, 6 o'clock or so, that's probably a good bet, because we're going 5 p.m. to about 10 p.m. In that window, temperatures will be dipping below freezing. Any leftover wet surfaces will be freezing up. So there will be a pretty solid round of cold air coming in. In fact, this might be the strongest cold front I've ever seen. I've been forecasting professionally for almost 25 years, and I have not seen anything like this, where we're going to go from low 50s to teens pretty quickly here. So this one means business. This is 4 o'clock. The front's moving through, and it's just around the time this front's moving through that we're probably going to get another max in winds with some gusts over 50 miles per hour. So it's probably one of those storms where even just behind the front, as the wind shifts over to the southwest, I wouldn't be shocked to get some gusts mixing down from a loft of maybe 50, maybe 60. It's probably more 50, 55 miles per hour. I think that's going to happen here, because what happens is we get this thing called a marine inversion, where all the strong winds, the extreme winds, stay above us, 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet above us. But as the front comes through, that mixes out our atmosphere enough that we can eventually tap into some of those stronger winds aloft. So as soon as the front goes through, that mixing layer jumps up to about 4,000 feet in elevation. And what's lurking at 4,000 feet up? You have winds of 50, 60 knots, and that can be transported down to the ground. And that probably will be the case, I think, just as the front comes through. So you might be just sitting at home watching TV, or hopefully you have power. There's 100,000 without power at last check about an hour ago. I got to check that again. But if you're just hanging out and you hear the wind kick up again, you're like, oh yeah, I remember what Charlie was talking about. The cold front's coming through. And as soon as you hear that wind starting to roar again, that's a pretty good indication that the temperatures are about to get nuts. We're going to go from low 50s to 20s over maybe 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. Regardless, though, it's going to get very cold very quickly. Here we are, 3 o'clock this afternoon. This is about an hour from now, hour and 10 minutes or so. We're still experiencing gusts, probably around 40 miles per hour. I think there will be one more max over 50 miles per hour as the winds shift over to the southwest. And this is a model that's picking up on that quite nicely. You've seen 54 there in Portland. Yeah, 50 to 60. I think we have another shot at that going into the evening hours. That's about 6 p.m. just as the front moves through. And then the wind's going to relax a little bit overnight. Now, the good news is we're not going to get extreme winds overnight. And more good news is we are probably going to be seeing the roads dry up a little bit, which is good. You usually hope for some wind as a cool down gets going, but I think the temperatures are going to be just turning so much colder so quickly that we are going to see that potential for a flash freeze before the roads dry up. So be mindful of that. It's not just the roads, but the side step always gets me. I don't know about you guys, but you step outside, you're like, whoa, that was slippery, right? The driveway, the sidewalks. I mean, there's a lot of puddles out there, and they're going to freeze solid over a matter of maybe an hour or two tonight. And the wind stays active tonight and tomorrow, but the extreme gusts, I think we've had our peak wind gusts in the greater Portland area here. I wouldn't be shocked to get some more gusts, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, somewhere in there, 50 to 60 miles per hour. So here's that lull I was telling you about. The front's making its way through. Notice temperatures are right around 50 degrees. And then it's going to get wild. Boom. Just like that, we're going to dip into the low 30s. That's 8 p.m. Might get some snow showers, perhaps a squall there. And then temperatures are in the low 20s by 10 p.m. And we should be in the teens to start the day tomorrow. And in some cases, many of you will have a hard time getting out of the teens for daytime highs tomorrow. So Christmas Eve day is going to be chilly. Christmas Day is going to be chilly as well. So that's pretty much all I have for you this afternoon on our Facebook Live, Twitter Live, and YouTube Live. I'm going to go forecast for the evening broadcast coming up in just a little bit here. Here are those historic tides again. If you're just joining us, we cracked the top 10 list for historic tides here. We cracked the top 5 lists. Look at that. We're at the 4th highest tide on record, going back to 1912. And there are your winds right now. We also have the 9th strongest wind recorded, going back to 1941, 64 miles per hour. So the bottom line here is this is an historic storm, and it continues. We're not out of the woods just yet. We do have some more wind. We do have some more cold temperatures, and we're headed for a cold weekend. For folks without power, it's going to be tough. And I think tonight at CBS 13 Live at 5, at 6 and 7, 10, 11, we're going to be talking a lot about the potential for, what's going to be happening going into the weekend. It's going to stay cold. It's going to stay windy. There probably will be some warming centers that open up for folks without power. So stay tuned to all that information. And if you do have power, well, good news for you. I know a lot of folks out there probably don't. With that said, I think we have avoided worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, you get something like the Halloween blackout. I think we had 500,000 customers without power during that storm. I think we have about 100,000 right now. I got to go check on that. The ice storm, we had 300,000 customers without power. So you figure every customer has, I think, an estimated 2.5 people that live in a household. So you can take that 100,000 and multiply that by 2.5. And so what's that? You got 200 and over, close to 300,000 people without power. I mean, yeah, that's a real deal. All right, folks, I am blabbing on now. We'll have more updates coming up tonight. And I think we'll try to do this again at 7:45. So join us then. All right, take care. Have a good one.